Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to today's conference, which is the last of the Phase A cycle, and it is called The Origin of the Ego. This topic aims for us to observe the different aspects that participated in the moment in which the ego was created on this planet. But first, we must know that all creation has a single purpose, and that is to harvest solar men, self-realized beings. Therefore, everything that has been created serves that purpose. The universes with their solar systems, with their planets, and the races that most inhabit them. Each planet, by law, must host a total of 7 races with 7 sub-races, according to the law of 7, which organizes everything. After giving those 7 races, said planet must die. Take as an example the moon, which was once a planet similar to this one and which gave its 7 races. This planet, which we inhabit, must also go through this process and has already produced several races. In fact, we are at the end of the 5th race, known as the Aryan race. There was the polar race, the Hyperborean race, the Lemur race, the Atlantean race. We find, as I said before, ourselves in the Aryan race. After this, there will come another race that will be known as the Corradi race, and then will come the 7th, whose name we don't know yet. So, we will concentrate today on the Lemur race, since it was there where the ego was created. The first 2 races were androgynous races. That is, they had 2 polarities integrated within them, the 2 sexes, male and female. However, in the Lemur race, they become hermaphroditic beings, having both sexes visibly externalized. Approximately 18.5 million years ago, the Lucifers of each spark accepted the challenge of dividing the 2 sexes to accelerate the progress towards the acquisition of wisdom. And when the female body was ready, that is where the sexes were definitively divided and the race was divided between the Adams and the Eves. Lacking that polarity that they had previously integrated, they began to feel that longing for union, or rather sexual desire. All the Lucifers accepted the challenge and told human beings that if they wanted to be like gods, they would have to taste that fruit. And that fruit was the shared sex. For this, they entrusted the masters and gurus to direct these sexual practices. So all couples should go to the temple for practicing sex, with 2 purposes: reproducing the species and creating the higher existential bodies of the being. Each spark should begin to work with the 2 trees. The tree of life, which was that of sex, which allows us to create existential bodies of the being, and the tree of good and evil, which was that of wisdom for self-realization. These 2 trees then have common roots, or share the roots with each other, found in the arc ACF, the secrets of the sex. Although it should be noted that the progress of acquiring wisdom of good and evil was somewhat slow, since the ego didn't yet exist in these people. There was also not much the desire for doing the practice of suprasex or the creation of the existential bodies. At that time, the comet Condor appears and crashes into the planet Earth. As a result of this collision of worlds, the Earth's crust was destabilized, and to stabilize it again, they sent a sacred retinue led by arch-physicists and arch-chemists Loaizus and Sakaki to solve that problem. The sacred retinue resolved to install in all human beings the Kunda buffer organ, which should stabilize the Earth's crust, our physical body is a kind of battery, and this organ is a kind of tail that sends energy towards the center of the earth. This energy generates heaviness and materiality, causing the crust to stabilize. It should be noted that this experiment had been carried out on other planets in the universe and simultaneously allowed the level of wisdom of each planet to be established. Likewise, at those moments, it was determined that the degree of wisdom for this planet would be 4, that is, planet of Christ or masters. Therefore, a person who self-realizes on this planet acquires the level of Christ. Due to the above, the Kunda buffer organ was left 3.5 days too long, referring to the level of consciousness. The tail of the Kunda buffer caused an astral tide or lost wave on the planet, which unbalanced all human beings, leading them to practice sex outside the temple. And since they had no supervision, they began to fornicate or spill the sexual creative energy out of the amphora. As a result of this, we were expelled from paradise. The 7 cause selves were created, since the virtues of the soul were inverted and became the 7 deadly sins that we know today. We can see that until this moment, the sparks were innocent. They didn't know evil. Furthermore, the Kunda buffer tail was delayed so that the sparks could reach exactly that point. So, a second nature was created in the inhabitants of the planet. The ego was created. The humans became terribly perverse. They became hypnotized and fascinated by evil to the point where they were no longer interested in self-realization of the being. Some even begin to commit suicide because there was no longer a reason to exist. Because of the above, the sacred retinue returned to planet Earth to remove the Kunda buffer organ, since it had already achieved its purpose. But planet Earth remained in the most absolute materialism. Human beings became accustomed to fornicating and became fascinated by it. Until now, they, or better to say, we prefer to live like animals rather than to self-realize. This collective fornication was called the universal flood, and this is what the story of Noah's Ark reflects. The human mind became animal through desire. All the created defects were taken in pairs to Noah's Ark, that is, in both polarities, so that on the day, if we decide to regenerate, we would find the raw material in the creative energy of the Holy Spirit, in the sexual creative energy. From there, from all our ego, would come out the love or fire and wisdom or light by eliminating the ego, learning to die in oneself. We must practice sexual magic, but also release the consciousness that has been trapped by these created defects, which in turn will be the raw material for the construction of the existential bodies of the being. Hence, the 2 trees have common roots. If the exit was through sex, the return to paradise must also be done through sex. If we don't learn to practice suprasex, there will be no regeneration possible. In sex, there is the possibility of being of every human being. In sex, there is the possibility of the second birth. With the work on the 3 factors for the revolution of consciousness, we will extract all the secrets of the ark. Now, the most important thing is to understand the hypnotism in which we find ourselves, which does not allow us to value or have a true objective of existing. If we understand the illusion in which we find ourselves with the passing things of the material world, we will see how important it is to start working on our inner world. It is essential that we understand very well that there are only 2 types of marriages. Those with the purpose of fornicating, which is all of them, because all human beings on this planet seek only pleasure and fun, animal enjoyment without transcendent desires. And the marriage where one commits to the Holy Spirit to never fornicate in order to self-realize the being. In this way, the process called regeneration will begin. That regeneration is to recover the lost power, become true men, recover all our power and regenerate our seed. When you are going to work on the tree of life, fire and water must always go upward and inward, as we teach in the practice of suprasex. This ascending fire is what many called the Kundalini. When we start the fire, the entire Black Lodge comes to tempt us. Then we have to be very cautious not to fall into adultery, because we will lose everything. But there is something else. If the person continues fornicating, for each fornication they lose 2 vertebrae. And if we are going to see someone who wants to climb 33 vertebrae for 7 bodies, well, it is a long job and it costs a lot. Approximately 24 sex practices to upload these 2 vertebrae that were lost in the fall. That is why we must understand how important it is to practice sex with love, fidelity, and chastity. From now on, you can take this into account. The most important thing, the reproduction of the beast, the ego, is done through fornication, adultery, and lack of love. When any of these occur, we work to conquer the abyss. If the ego is going to end, we have to stop creating more ego. If we do not stop creating defects, the ego continues to grow. There is a need to initiate direct action against fornication, because it is what, on the physical plane, wastes all the energy that the physical body condenses. So let us remember that the sexual creative energy will always create. And if we are not creating upwards, we are creating downwards. When a person already has this knowledge, they have to decide. The definition will be angel or demon. There is no more. Only those 2 alternatives. Either you go one way or you go to the other. So you have to make that decision. Or you go up or you are going down. But you already have the knowledge of the sex. And well, this was today's conference. Thank you very much for joining us. We invite you to join us at the beginning of a new cycle, which will begin next Saturday, the 13th. So thank you very much. See ya.